focused on staying on the line, I can't fulfill my assignment. But my God is big enough to handle my fault, my strokes, grubs, my mess ups, because he's already prepared for what I might do. He knows what I'm going to do before I do it, and he already made preparation for me before I get there. What follows darkness is light. That darkness is the indicator that light is getting ready to shine. So there it is in Genesis, when darkness was upon the face of the deep, and God in the spirit form moved upon the face of the waters, and then God said, let there be. Because darkness precedes the light. Are you understanding what I'm saying? But he needs the darkness there so that God can move upon the face of the deep, so that the shift can take place. Listen, look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor that shift take place in the darkness. Oh God, y'all didn't hear what I just said. Everybody's not going to see the shift that's happening. They see the chaos, but they don't see the shift. They see all the craziness going on in your life, but they don't understand that underneath the darkness, God is moving in secret. He's moving in quiet. He's moving in the hidden places. He's moving in the cracks and the corners and the crevices. He's moving in places that you cannot see. And when the light comes, they're going to see a new order. Even afraid to dream, afraid to imagine. But I'm here to tell you that you are an infinite, limitless, boundless being. Are you willing to do what is necessary to have what you desire?
Thank you for joining us. Please take a moment and like the Facebook page. Subscribe to the YouTube page and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when we go live. If you are finding value in these enrichment sessions, please consider supporting this page financially. Your donations allow us to continue to provide spiritual enlightenment self-exploration, and kingdom knowledge. Also consider becoming a partner because partnerships have this privilege. As a partner, you'll be able to attend our annual Partners Only Summer Summit, join us for our 6 a.m. virtual daily guided meditation sessions, weekly advanced empowerment sessions, regular prophetic insights and instructions, 30% discount on all Emerge books and merchandise, and a custom Emerge t-shirt. You'll also gain full access to the private Emerge Movement community page as well as group chats. Once again, thank you for watching.
And good afternoon or good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the Emerge Empowerment Session. I am your host, Isaac J. Miles Sr., and I am so glad that you have decided to join me this evening for another Emerge Empowerment Session. Now, I know, it's been a while since we've done one, since we've gathered here together. And I understand that, a lot of you might have thought, well, okay, I guess he stopped doing them. No, I was just going through a period of transition, moving to a new place, new location. And I am now in that location, settled in, getting me and my daughter settled into our new place, our new home and everything, and a new routine and a new way of doing things. And so we are back on schedule and things are moving as they have been in the past. So spread the word. Let everybody know that the Emerge Empowerment Session is back. We haven't gone anywhere. We're just operating from a different place in a different location. And we've got good, solid, practical information to be able to empower you as you are continuing to create, cultivate, and curate the life that you design and desire. That's the whole goal and the mission behind Emerge, is to give you every tool that you need to cause to emerge from within you those things that have laid dormant for the entirety of your life that are necessary for you to begin to design and to create the life that you desire. So I appreciate those of you that have stuck with us through the transition and that are here on this evening. I'm going to ask those of you watching me on every platform, no matter where you're watching from, take a moment right now before we get into our conversation for tonight and share this live. Everybody that's watching on every platform, hit the share button and share it on your page right now. Share the link out to your group chat. Send it to your friends and family. Send it to everybody you can think of that you believe would be helped and empowered and positively impacted by this particular live, this platform. So take a few moments right now, share this live, and then I also need you to interact with this particular platform, this live as we're on the air. Hit the like button, hit the love button, or the laugh button, or the angry button, or whatever button you decide that you want to interact with. Do that all throughout the entire live. As well as make your comments in the comment section. As a matter of fact, let me get over there right now so that if you have comments, you have anything that you want to interject, your thoughts, your feelings, your ideas, your agreements or disagreements, you can put that in the comments. Or if you have questions, you can put that in the comments as well. And let me open up also, I'm going to open up one of the other apps, because sometimes on this app that I'm using here, to do the live, I don't see all of the comments pop up, and I don't know why that is. I still haven't figured that out yet. So I'm going to open up a different app so that I'm able to make sure that I am seeing all of the comments. I want to make sure that I'm seeing all the comments as they come through. Now, just a moment. This is not even showing me on the live. What is going on here? Oh, there it is. I tell you, this technology and these apps don't always work the way that they're designed to work. There it is. Okay, let's see if we can't open it up. Boom, there we go. If you're watching us via Facebook, do me a favor, tag everybody. I mean, go in the comments and just start tagging. Start tagging everybody you can think of. Think of tagging everybody that you think would benefit from being a part of the conversation. Go ahead and tag them right now in the comments. Do that even now as we are speaking. See, look at this. There are a ton of comments that are coming in. And I'm looking at it on this app, but yet on the other app that's right here, I don't see any of those comments. That's crazy. That is crazy. I don't like that. I got to figure out a way to fix that so that I can see all the comments in one place. But thank you for tagging. Thank you, Toya. You're always tagging different ones and using that highlight button. That's really important. That function is a really good function that's exclusively on Facebook. So those of you who have Facebook and you're watching from there, you can use the highlight button in order to be able to share it with everybody. Oh, I'm sorry. I just saw something that caught me off guard, made me laugh a little bit. Lord have mercy. There we go. Oh, Lord have mercy. The things people do. If you knew what I was talking about, you'd probably be like, what in the world? Okay. So, yeah, please do that for me. And let's try and get the word out. Like I said, I know I've been missing, kind of going MIA for a little while. So it's going to take a little minute to try and get everybody notified that we are here. But please tag everybody you can think of. Tag all of our regulars like Denise and Theresa and Diana and all of them, everybody. Okay, tag everybody in the comments and invite them to come and be a part of the conversation. I hope you've been having a really great holiday weekend, even though I don't necessarily celebrate the 4th of July. If you do, that's okay. That's your prerogative. I choose not to because it celebrates independence, and independence is not freedom. It's not liberty. It's just independence. Independence is totally separate from liberty and freedom. Liberty and freedom is collective. It's for everyone. Independence, as it was meant in the Declaration of Independence, was independence for them from the British colonies, from England, from the monarchy. They became independent while at the same time denying liberty and freedom to the people in this country. So our ancestors, as you know, the same person who was penning the Declaration of Independence went home to all of his slaves, people that he literally owned. One woman that he literally raped and had children from, and then those children became his slaves and served in his home, and he never freed. Are you hearing what I'm saying? So it was independence for them, but not freedom or liberty for us. So, but I mean, again, if you choose to celebrate it, or you choose to take advantage of it, or you out barbecuing and wearing your red, white, and blue, more power to you. Okay, not mad at you at all. That's your choice. That's your decision. I choose to abstain from those things, but I do take advantage of the holiday to enjoy, relax, and lay back and chill and reflect and spend some time doing the things that I enjoy doing. And I hope that you've had an opportunity to do the same thing as well. Whether you celebrate or you don't, that you've enjoyed time with family, friends, or doing something that refreshes, rejuvenates, and uplifts you, that you enjoy doing. And I hope that your time this weekend has been productive in some form or fashion, or maybe multiple forms, whether it is, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, psychologically, whatever it happens to be. that you've gotten some profit out of this weekend. Okay. All right. All right. Thank you again. Thank you for those of you who are on. Thank you for your sharing. Thank you for your tagging. Thank you for your listening and your participation. Those of you who are watching on every platform. Okay, so you saw, if you read the description, that we're going to, our topic for this evening, and I don't intend to be on long. I've already been on for 20 minutes. So I got about maybe 35, 40 minutes at the most to get through this particular topic. And we're going to discuss the journey to remembrance, is what I've entitled it. The journey to remembrance, rediscovering your identity and your original intent. Rediscovering your identity and your original intent. Now, I want to use a particular text from the Bible, and it's only because it tends to highlight and accentuate the topic that we're going to be discussing this evening. And it is a text that I think probably most of you, the majority of you that are listening or that will listen on the replay, are familiar with because you've heard it many times before, but you may not have understood it from the perspective that we're going to discuss it or share it today. So I want to invite you to take a deeper look. I want to invite you to look at this from a more intense, deeper, broader perspective that will stretch the boundaries of what has been the norm and probably stretch the boundary of your theological ideology or belief or what you have been comfortable or have commonly understood the text to mean. The text is found in Romans chapter 8. It's Romans chapter 8, verses 29 and 30. Now, I would encourage those of you who want to do further research, want to look into it deeper, to look at the entirety of the context of the particular text that I'm going to quote and read today. I don't have time to go through an entire litany from chapter 1 all the way up to chapter 8 and explain the narrative and the common thread that runs through the book of Romans. There is a very common thread. It is a conversation. As you know, those of you who have studied at any level, that Romans is not really written as a book. It is a letter that later, years later, a century later, different scholars and others that got together and decided during the canonization process to divide that letter up into chapters as it has, but it was one continuous letter. So there was one stream of consciousness, one intent, one particular purpose in the writer or the author of this letter that they were trying to get across. There were several highlights and portions of the letter that you can draw your attention to and pull different messages from. But there was one central theme that the writer of this letter, which many scholars assume to be Paul, was trying to get across in his particular writing. Now, the writer is writing from a particular place during a particular time. He is writing from a time of incarceration, and he is writing to a group of people who have made or are in the process of making the transition from one religious ideology into the next one, and trying to embrace this new particular set of beliefs and introduction to this new understanding of God and of man's relationship with God that they had not understood before. So Paul, in writing this letter, takes some time to meticulously work through various doctrinal ideas and beliefs and use comparison and contrast and some history to try and prop up and support and solidify his point and introduce them to this new way of believing. And again, I don't want to get into the weeds of that particular idea and that particular conversation. I just want to draw from these two verses and highlight some principles and perspective that can practically help you to begin to create, cultivate, and curate a designed, intentional life. And it's one that you desire, and maybe answer some theological or cosmological questions that you have along the way. All right. So, Romans chapter 8 begins with a very powerful statement. There is therefore now no condemnation. Okay? There is therefore now, and you're going to see why that's so important a little bit later, but I just want to put that out there just as a highlight for the context of this particular portion of the letter. There is therefore now the term therefore there shows the connectivity to the quote unquote chapters or the portion of the letter that preceded this one. It shows that he is now connecting the dots. There is therefore, he says now, no condemnation. Because in the preceding chapters, he talks about the internal struggle and the wrestle that he himself has endured. The things that I would do, I don't do. The things that I say I'm not going to do, I end up doing, and so on and so forth. And he talks about that internal struggle. But he says, I've come to this conclusion. I've reached the conclusion that there is no condemnation to those who are in Christ. That is the word Christos, the anointed, the mind and consciousness of God. And who walk not after the flesh, that is, those things that are commonly understood, believed, and practiced in the particular culture and time that they were in, but walk after the leadership, the guidance, the unction, the intuitive knowing of the Spirit, that is, that Spirit that lives in us, through us, and as us, that is the Spirit of God. He begins the entire portion of this particular section of the letter with that profound statement. And so now as we drop down to read verses 29 and 30, I'm going to read it and then we're going to unpack it and look at it from a very different and deeper perspective as it relates to rediscovering your identity. You'll understand why I say rediscover in a few moments, and your original intent, or here's the word you're going to hear a lot, your purpose for being, your reason for being. How many times have you asked yourself, why am I here? What am I supposed to be here for? What am I supposed to do? Or that you've looked at different situations and circumstances that have arisen in your life, and you know that that you may have ended up in the hospital, or you may have been dead. I won't say should have been, because if you should have been, then you would have been, but you weren't. So, but you could have been dead, could have been lost, could have been gone, could have been incarcerated, that things could have gone left and your life could have taken a twist or a turn where you would have ended up in a much more dire situation than what you are in right now. That no matter how challenging where you are right now is, it could have been a whole lot worse had things turned a different way or had taken a different direction, had you been caught doing some of the things that you've done. Come on. had you not gotten away, had certain things happen differently, then you would be in much dire straits than what you are right now. And in the midst of that, you've said to yourself, or had others say to you, well, God has something that he wants you to do. God, there's something on your life. There's a reason why you were preserved. There's a reason why people who were in the same circumstance and the same situation that you were in ended up going to prison for life or dying in the midst of it. And yet God preserved your life. You're still here. You're still holding on. You're still breathing. You're still getting up in the morning to see the sun rise. You still have your freedom. You still have the liberty and activity of all of your limbs. You still have family. You still have friends. You didn't experience or suffer the ultimate loss that you could have. It may have cost you some, but it did not cost you as much as it would have had some unforeseen circumstances taken place, and you ended up in a place of safety and experiencing a level of grace that even you cannot explain. Thus, the writing of the hymn, Amazing Grace. How sweet the sound that saved what the man considered himself a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found, was blind, but now I see. It describes so clearly how many of us feel when we look back over our life in situations, circumstances, and encounters that could have really taken us out. And yet here we are, still here in this moment. What's the reason behind it? Why am I still here? Why do I have the idiosyncrasies and the proclivities that I have, the talents, the gifts, the abilities? Why do I seemingly stand out in the way that I do out of all of my mother's children, all of my father's children, everyone who grew up in the household with me? Why did I have the experiences that I've had? What is my reason for being? Does any of this have a meaning? Does it have a purpose? Or am I living an accidental life and a haphazard life? And if nothing is accidental or haphazard, if everything has a reason and a purpose, what is it? Well, those are the questions that we're going to try and answer in the time that we have left in this particular live conversation that we're having right now. Okay. And again, don't be afraid to comment. I'm checking the comment section on both of these apps at the same time to make sure that I don't miss anybody. All right. So the text in Romans chapter 8, verse 29 and 30 reads like this. For whom he did foreknow, he also did predestinate. Moreover, whom he did predestinate, them he also called. And whom he called, them he also justified. And whom he justified, them he also glorified. Now, I know you if you're reading it from your Bible, you're saying, well, you skipped over a part there. I did on purpose for expediency. I know that it reads that whom he did foreknow, them he also predestined to be conformed to the image of the Son. I'm not going to get into that particular statement, even though it is a very powerful and profound and important part of the statement. But I want to focus in on these key words that are used in this particular text so that we can get granular and talk about our reason for being, our journey to remembrance, and our original intent, our purpose or reason for being. There are some key words in these particular verses that I want to focus our attention to. When the other part that I kind of skipped over is mentioned after whom he did foreknow, them he did predestine to be conformed. That tells us the reason, the why for the predestination, and the what to the predestination. That predestination is not universal, meaning that every step and every movement and every choice and every decision that we make is predestined. It is the destiny or the outcome or the end result that is predestined. And the predestination is, or the end result that is predestined, is that we would end up being just like the Christ. Okay? That's the end destination. But what I want you to pay attention to is the how we get to the end destination. There are some key words that are put in place that encapsulate the how we arrive at the predetermined end or the outcome of the destination or our destiny. Okay? Those words are foreknow, predestinate, called, justified, and glorified. Again, they are foreknow, predestinate, called, justified, and glorified. 5 key words that are very important and that are necessary for us to look at from a deeper perspective, a broader outlook than what you may have heard before. And I want you to remain open, remain curious as we unpack these particular words in the next 30 minutes. I got 30 minutes to do this. This is a lot for 30 minutes, but I'm going to give it my best shot. Okay? Y'all going to hang with me? All right, let's dig in. Now, for generations, Romans chapter 8, verses 29 and 30 have been interpreted exclusively through the lens of salvation, election, and heaven. And while there is, some minuscule value to that particular interpretation, I believe and I am certain that these verses reveal something way more profound if we would just take the time to look. And I'm not even talking about doing a deep exegesis. I'm saying just using simple grammar and English and a Webster's dictionary, and then engaging in some critical thinking. Okay? I'm going to ask you to do something that you're not often asked to do, especially in church or mosque or synagogue or temple. I'm going to ask you to think. Yeah, I want you to think. And I don't want you to just think any old way. I want you to think critically, think analytically, think scientifically, think logically. I don't want you to turn your brain off and just become emotional. I want you to actually leave your brain on and functioning and be curious, inquisitive, and logical, and think with me about what the text is actually saying. Are you ready to do that? Can we do that? This provides a profound map of consciousness. These 2 verses lay out a profound map of consciousness, a blueprint of incarnation, and a framework from which understanding of why we are here can be gleaned or gained. Read this way, the passage is not simply about where we are going after we die. It's really not about that at all in reality, but it is about how we are able to conduct this life that we are living now and how we navigate this three-dimensional existence successfully, not filled with stress, striving, worry, fear, and doubt. I want to liberate you, free you from that kind of apprehension and pressure and stress by giving you an understanding. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom. But in all you're getting, get an understanding. Okay? So let's see if we can't get an understanding. You see, I believe that every soul enters each iteration or better, a more concise word would be a purpose. I believe that you entered every iteration of your life, this iteration in particular, specifically, not by accident, not by happenstance, not by some clumsy, ill-prepared notion or idea of your mother and father. No one, no matter what they may have said or have concluded about your being here, you are not an accident. You're not a mistake. You're not a happenstance. You didn't slip into this three-dimensional existence. You are here with intention, with purpose, with an original reason for your coming at the exact time, on the exact day, in the exact place, to the exact parents that you were born to. Lord, I could spend a whole afternoon or evening just conversing about that one particular fact, that your life is not an accident, that your life is not just happenstance, that your life has value, it has meaning, it has purpose, it has intent. And that intent was formulated not just by God, but it was co-agreed upon or created and agreed upon by God and you together in eternity past, prior to your coming into this three-dimensional realm of existence. Prior to your being conceived in your mother's womb, you existed and agreed with God, with the eternal, with the source, with the creator of all, the all of everything. You co-created this iteration of life that you are experiencing right now, and co-created it with an agreed upon destination that you would ultimately come to the place where you would be conformed to the image or the likeness or a replica, or be just like the Christ in the earth. That you would be an impactful, powerful, necessary vehicle through which God, the all of everything, would experience and express itself in this earth realm. That you serve a specific and important purpose or reason in the earth. Okay? I need you to know that about yourself this afternoon, this evening. I need you to know that with a certainty. If you don't get anything else out of this conversation, I need you to be able to say, I am not an accident. My life has meaning. My life has purpose. My life has value. My life has impact. It means something that I am making a mark in this life that cannot be erased. I'm not living an accidental, incidental life. I am living a life that is filled with possibilities and potential. It's filled with purpose. Okay? Man, I'm talking too slow. Because I'm looking at the clock and my time is moving fast, so I gotta keep going. Okay, I've got to keep going. All right. I again believe that every soul entered this iteration of existence carrying what I call the original intent. The original intent is your primary purpose of this particular incarnation. It is not an occupation. Listen to me. Your purpose is not an occupation. It's not a title. It's not a social status. It is not even, watch this is going to really upset a few people. It's not even a ministry. My ministry is my purpose. No, it isn't. Your ministry is your calling. If you have a ministry, it's your calling. It's what you do, but it is not who you are. Let me say it again. Your ministry is a calling. Your work, your effort, your business, maybe your calling. It is what you do, but it does not define who you are. Purpose defines you. Purpose is a reflection of your isness. Ooh, let me say that again. I said your purpose, your original intent is a reflection of who you are. What you do does not define who you are. It is an outgrowth of who you have chosen to be and who you are in this iteration of life. But it is not the definition, because you can be a preacher, a pastor, a teacher, as well as a father, an entrepreneur, a businessman, a worker, as well as a son, a husband, a daughter, a wife. All of those are things that you do. None of them fully define you. They are just an outshoot of who you really are at your core. So your original intent, your spiritual identity is much bigger and much broader and more deep, has more depth than what you do. I need you to understand what you do or do not do, what you have or do not have, does not define who you are. Please stop letting people paint you into a box and try and define you by what you have done or do or have not done or do. Stop letting people define you based on what you have or do not have. Stop letting people paint you with a broad brush and say, because you are this or you have that or you do this, that, or the other, then that is all that you are. That defines who you are. That is you. No, it is not. It is a label that you wear. It is a title that you carry. It is an activity you engage in. It is a thing that you possess, but it does not define who you are. And it is a mark of high vibrational thinking and intellect and understanding and character when you can hold space for all of these things, for what you do, for the titles that you wear, for the occupations that you fulfill, and still understand that none of them define who I am, and I can hold on to who I truly am, who my authentic self is. I can navigate through pain and trauma and hurt that may change my perspective, my outlook, and therefore have an effect on my choices and my behaviors. But none of those things define or change who I am at my core, my authentic and true self. I am. Listen to me. And there are no two words more powerful in the entire universe than I am. Whatever you declare after I am, you begin to define yourself by what you call yourself. Come here, Adam, in the allegory. He is told, look out among all of creation and give it a name. And whatever you call it, then that's what it will be. And Adam went about naming everything. You're this, you're that, you're this, you're that, you're the other. Well, that is illustrating a principle that you have the authority and the power to name not just the things around you, but more importantly, name yourself. What are you calling you? Well, I am poor. I am dumb. I am slow. I am. Then you are defining and confining yourself to what you have declared that you are. But I want you to understand who you really are at your core today. Because once you discover or rediscover your true, authentic identity, then it's a game changer. It changes everything. Everything, because now you are freed from the shackles, parameters, and confinement of all these other titles, labels, behaviors, choices, decisions that others and you have used before to define who you are. When you start to rediscover or uncover, or it is revealed to you who you really are, it frees you now from all of the condemnation, the guilt, the fractures, the traumas, the fear, the doubts, the insecurities, because you become centered in your identity. Your identity is going to define you. And so I want to give you a glimpse into who you are, who God says that you are, who the Creator, the that you are. My camera just blinked out. I hope I didn't lose anybody. Yeah, I'm looking over here, and the video over here stopped as well. I don't know why that's happening. I tell you, technology is not all it's cracked up to be sometimes. Okay? So I want to give you an insight, a glimpse, an understanding of who the all of everything, who God has declared that you are. Man, I am not going to get through all of this. Look, Lord, good Lord Almighty. Look at the time already. Curate, and I haven't even gotten to the first word. Okay? And so let's move there. Oh, goodness. The understanding begins with the very first word in the text that Paul decides to use. He is very intentional and deliberate in using the terminology that he uses. One thing about this writer, Paul, if his name was really Paul, and we're not even going to get into that conversation, is that he was a very meticulous, deliberate, intentional writer, and he used terminology that was well understood for the time and the day that he was in, but that strategically carries over to now to give us a clarity of understanding that if we would take the time to define it and to understand it, man, it would free us. Okay? The very first word that jumps off the page in the text is the word foreknow. Whom God foreknown. Foreknew. Who God foreknew. It's powerful. Okay? The word jumps off the page. It says, whom God foreknew, them he also predestined. Before we get to the predestined, let's deal with the implications of the word foreknew. Oh my goodness, I am honored beyond words to have Pastor Don Jones on the live with me right now. I saw your comment pop up. Dr. Jones, it is so good to have you on here. Happy birthday again to you. I have always admired you. Thought you were just an absolutely stunningly amazing, wonderful woman. I wish we had an opportunity to really meet each other on a personal level. Maybe now we will have that opportunity again, but I want to welcome you here. Thank you so much for joining us on this live. She's an amazing, amazing woman, amazing teacher, has a great and powerful, impactful ministry there in Douglas, Georgia. Okay. All right. So let's unpack this word, foreknew. What does this mean? Traditionally, foreknowledge has been understood as God's prior awareness of future events. But there's something much deeper and much richer that can be drawn from the use of this word, the deliberateness of the use. To foreknow means to know beforehand. That is, to have knowledge of a thing before it takes place. Okay? But in order for, there is a deeper understanding of the word know in the context of the text. To foreknow means that it had to have been in existence in order for it to be known. It does not say for what God foreknew. It says for whom God foreknew. Whom God foreknew. It infers that God had a knowledge of, an intimacy with, a connection with, a synchronicity with an entity that existed beforehand. Foreknew. Knew when? When before? Well, according to Ephesians chapter 1, God called us, God selected us, God, the text says, chose you and I before when? The foundations of the world. Before there was ever a let there be. Before the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the deep and God said, let there be light. Before there was creation itself in the three-dimensional existence, the text in the Bible declares that God not only chose us, but knew us. which means then that we had to exist in some form prior to our incarnation in this three-dimensional form that we now exist in. God foreknew. Remember that word know has a twofold meaning, that it involves information and intimacy. Information in the sense that I know what's going to take place before it takes place, that is foreknowledge. But then also knowing infers intimacy, as in Abraham knew Sarah and she bore him a child. Knowing, intimacy, okay, a oneness, a connection, and the two shall become one. So God foreknew us, you and I, before the foundations of the world. God had an intimate relationship with us prior to our entering this three-dimensional realm. Now, that means that we had to exist in some place, some space prior to our coming into this dimension, prior to its creation, prior to its formation, because this was before the very blueprint was laid out, or before the foundation for this world. So where did we exist? Well, that same Ephesians chapter 1 tells us not only when we were chosen, but where we were chosen, where we existed prior to our coming into this three-dimensional world and before the blueprint of it was put in place. It says we were chosen, watch this, in Him. In who? In God. So God looks within itself and creates us within itself. What do you mean? In God. That's what the text says. We were chosen inside of God when? Before God ever even came up with the blueprint for the architecture of the world. God knew us and chose us in itself. Did you get the implication of what I'm saying to you? That God did not create a world and then put us in it. God created us and then created a world to put us in. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Man, I'm over my time already, and I haven't even got past word one yet. Will y'all just give me a couple of a little bit more? I'm not going to finish everything. I'm not going to get to all 5 words. Clearly, I'm not. Okay? But I do want to get through this one word, foreknowledge, and its implication. Can y'all stay with me just a little bit longer? Can you stay with me just a little bit longer? I'm watching the comments because I want to make sure that you're in agreement and that you're going to stay with me. Stay with me. Okay? So God creates us. We exist in God before God ever comes up with the blueprint for this three-dimensional realm. Okay? So that same Ephesians, God chose us, watch this, knew us in itself before it came up with the blueprint for this world, back to Romans, that we might be conformed, determined in outcome, to the image and the likeness of the Son. Why the Son and not God? Because man would already be made in the image and likeness of God. What does that mean? That as God is a spirit, man is a spirit. Everything that God is, mankind would be. That God breathed out of itself the breath of life. That's the analogus that's given in Genesis. And man became a conscious soul, a living nephesh, the Hebrew word is, a consciousness and aware, consciously aware of its earthly surrounding soul. The spirit gains a soul and becomes this being in the earth realm. So spirit exits out of spirit because it was known and chosen in spirit. God is spirit, energy, force, whatever terminology that you want to use. They're all synonymous. Please don't get all tied up in semantics of, oh, well, I don't want to hear nothing about no energy or no force or all this. It's the same thing. Spirit. What do you think spirit is? Okay. Power, energy, force. Okay. So don't let those terminologies mess you up. And man becomes, the screen just blanked again. I don't like that. Okay. A living nephesh, soul, a consciousness, an active, animated consciousness in a three-dimensional form that is made from the dust. Okay? Wait a minute. Hold on. Let's go deeper. Okay? Can I go a little deeper? Stay with me. So, what is the other implication? If you and I, all humanity, existed in God prior to the blueprint ever even being put forward for this iteration and this three-dimensional existence that we are moving and matriculating through. If that is the case, then if I am in God and God is spirit and I am spirit, okay, meaning I am spirit, all that God is, I am, and all that I am is God, then there is nothing that takes place in God that I am unaware of because I am in God, one with God. Everything flowing through God is by necessity flowing through me as well. Are you understanding what I'm saying? And so the purpose and the intent or the final outcome, destiny of my being conformed into the likeness of Christ is already understood and known and agreed upon between God and I and you in God. But why conform to the image of the Christ? Because instead of God, because we would be already created in the likeness and the image of God. Done deal. Done deal from the point of creation. But after creation comes life. Now, as you enter this three-dimensional form, you have to learn how to be a living spirit in a three-dimensional form that now has a conscious awareness of the world around him, a soul. The soul, the seat of consciousness, intellect, emotion, intuition, feeling, attachments, attractions. The soul, the conscious awareness of all mankind. The soul, now aware of its surroundings, aware of its existence, and not conceptually, but now experientially, because the soul the soul merged with the spirit is tethered to a form. And that form has sensory feelings, touch, smell. All of these things are activated in the body via the soul. Okay? All of these things are activated in the soul via the body. Rather, in the body via the soul. In the body by way of the soul. Transmitting back and forth. And you're having all of these sensations. All of them are new to you. From the time that you are conceived in your mother's womb, you start to have these sensations that are all brand new. And so we have this perfect example, Jesus, the Christ of that particular era, that particular time, to give us an example of how a spirit in human form navigates this three-dimensional existence. And so it is now necessary for those who would follow to be conformed, not to this world, what has become the common way of navigating this three-dimensional world. Please understand that that's what it means by the world. It is not castigating all humanity. It is simply saying that you are not conformed to this system, this mode of action, these methods of being, this haphazard way of living, but now you are conformed to a model, a blueprint, a prototype, of Jesus the Christ, that gives you an example of how you navigate this three-dimensional existence successfully. Okay? How do I live in this earth successfully? How do I consistently navigate all of the twists and turns and troubles and trials and all of the issues that come with being human? Well, I have an example, a prototype. Jesus the Christ says, this is how you do it. And so it necessitates studying the life of Jesus, not all of the hoopla and the extra that may have been added by overzealous historians and writers and recorders, but to look at the practical principles and patterns by which Christ lived, and then draw from the poignant statements like, I am come. Watch this one. That you might have life, and that you might have it more abundantly. I know, you've been told that the abundant life is about having money, cars, home, land. That is not. All of those things are the byproduct of abundance, okay? But the abundant life, that you might have it. Listen to what the text says. I am come that you might have life, not stuff, not things, not possessions, that you might have life. Life, living. You're living your navigation, your experiences in this three-dimensional world. And I came that those experiences, that existence would be abundant, that you would have it. Have what? Life. More abundantly. Not an abundance of stuff. For a man's life consisteth not in the abundance of things that he possesses. not an abundance of stuff, people, places, or things, but that you might have life itself abundantly. There's my camera blinking again. Let me repeat. Christ says, I am come to be the prototype to show you how to live, enjoy, and experience this thing called life at a high vibrational frequency, abundantly, to truly enjoy being. That my happiness, my joy, my life is not confined nor propped up or solidified by stuff or by other people. But my mere existence is abundant because I've learned how to navigate this three-dimensional thing we call life. And so the Romans piece says that you were foreknown and predestined to be conformed or shaped by the prototype so that you could know how to be and be abundantly who you authentically are. Whew. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Now, there's further implication to this foreknowledge. Foreknowledge then also says, since God's knowledge, according to Isaiah, says it like this, God knows the end from the beginning. Notice that that's not a haphazard statement. God knows the end from the beginning, not the beginning to the end, the outcome, the culmination. It knows that from the beginning because the objective is not all the time in between, it's the outcome. The path that you take to the outcome varies by person to person. All of us having different experiences, thus what we call free will. Predestination does not take away choice. It's the only thing that is predestined is the outcome. The outcome is that you would learn how to be authentically who you are abundantly. Okay? So another implication of this foreknowledge is that the outcome has been settled. You will ultimately get to the place of authenticity and joy and peace and contentment and even happiness. Because you will have learned how to experience life abundantly. Absent things and stuff and people. But internally, you have arrived in whatsoever state I'm in. Yeah. I'm at peace. That's abundant life. And that's just foreknowledge. There's some other implications of it. Like the omniscience of God. That God, knowing the end from the beginning, the outcome from the beginning, knows what the ultimate outcome is going to be, then has no reason to be angry, judge, or vindictive about the path, because the path will lead to the ultimate outcome. Did you catch what I just said? So God, unlike the anthropomorphic humanistic way that mankind has tried to define God, is not moved by your choices, decisions, errors, mistakes, misjudgments, your successes, your failures, your whatever. God is not moved by any of it because the ultimate outcome was agreed upon by you and it prior to your entering this three-dimensional form, and the outcome is set. For every iteration of your life, the outcome is already set. The path and the journey is unfolding. And it is only unfolding to you. Because omniscience, see, and this is what kills me. It's like I want to help you. I want you to get free. I want to free some of you tonight, and I'm done. Because look, I done went way over time. I want to free some of you that are watching me tonight from the boundaries, chains, and fetters of religious manipulation and control. Okay? And that is simply this. By simply giving you this one simple thing that I want you to put on your logical thinking cap for just one moment. If God is omniscient, and God is, that means there is nothing that God does not know. And that is true. Because if there is anything outside of the scope of God's knowing, then God ceases to be God. Okay? You can't be the all of everything, the creator of all things, the source of all things, and then have a blind spot. Okay? God does not have a blind spot. So nothing, listen, that you and I choose to do during this iteration of life, and the choices, decisions, and paths that we choose to take along the way, that all lead us to the ultimate outcome, the predestined, determined outcome that catches God off guard. I want to free those of you watching me from this whole manipulation tool of you disappointed God. You broke God's heart. You let God down. You cannot let God down. You can't break God's heart. You can't disappoint God. Those are all anthropomorphisms. It is men trying to impose human limitations upon the infinite God. Let me explain, and I'm done. Because in order for God to be disappointed with you, let down by you, okay, means that God had to have an expectation of you that you didn't meet. And in your failure to meet that expectation comes disappointment. Wait, hold on. But if God has an expectation of you that you don't meet, then it means God either foolishly or blindly expected you to do something other than what it knew you would do. But since God knows the end from the beginning, and God also knows all that there is nothing outside of the peripheral or the purview of God, then I can never do anything that God does not know that I'm going to do before I do it. And if I am always doing exactly what God knew and knows that I'm going to do before I do it, it can never be disappointed in what I do, because it does not have an expectation of me doing anything other than what I did. In other words, it knew that I would do what I did before I did it, and that I would choose what I chose before I chose it. And since it knew what I would do before I did it and what I would choose before I chose it, then it is never let down or disappointed because we are always doing exactly what God knows or knew that we would do before we did it. So go ahead and live without the fear and the control and the intimidation tactic of, don't you let God down now. Don't you break God's heart. Don't you make or disappoint God now. You can't. None of us can. If God can be disappointed, God's not God. That's not God. Humans are disappointed when you don't meet their expectations, but not God. Not God. So stop beating yourself up. Stop crucifying yourself. Stop carrying this guilt and shame and all this other weight around with you because some person tried to make you think that God was somehow upset, disappointed, and let down by you. It's a lie. It is an absolute, atrocious, damnable lie. God's entire desire for all of us is to live free. That's the reason there is therefore now no condemnation. Yeah, but it says to them that are in Christ Jesus. Everybody ain't in Christ Jesus. What do you mean? We all emanate from the same place, God itself, including Jesus. The text didn't say, as long as you get saved, baptized, and filled with the Holy Ghost and stacked with the evidence of speaking in tongues. It says emphatically, because you're in Christ, there's no condemnation. So stop carrying the weight and the guilt of thinking that somehow you put one over. You caught God by surprise. You caught him up. You caught God off guard. And it was just like, oh my goodness, I didn't think that you would do that. Oh, I'm so disappointed. That's not how it works. All right. I got to stop. Because look, it's 7:30 already. I've been on for an hour and a half. I told you I wasn't going to get through the first word, grad day. I haven't even gotten to, I touched a little bit on the predestinate, but there's a lot more that is implied by that particular word. And we still haven't talked about the called or the justified or the glorified yet. So we'll pick those up. I promise you, we'll pick it up in our very next conversation. Were you helped by tonight? Y'all talk back to me real quick in the comments. We're getting ready to go out and go off the air, but talk back to me. Did this conversation help you? Did it trigger anything within you? Did it impact you positively? Did it raise your curiosity and make you want to dig in and do some more study and research? Thank you, Toya. I appreciate everything. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Theresa. How you doing? Good to see you, Theresa. Okay. I hope everybody was positively impacted by this conversation. There is more. I promise you, there's a lot more. We're going to go a lot deeper. We still have 4 other words to cover. I hate that this camera keeps blinking in and out. I need to buy new cameras. But about predestination, about calling, about justification, and about glorification. You really do not want to miss it. I feel like I ought to be doing revival somewhere so I could just do a whole series of teachings on 4 different nights or 3 nights and try and cover all of this. But since I'm not on the circuit anymore, and these preachers scared to deal with me now because oh, Lord have mercy. But anyway, that's a whole another thing. We'll do it right here from this platform. I'll see you on next week at 6 p.m. right here on the Emerge Empowerment Session. Listen, I'm going to ask each and every one of you that's tuned in right now to consider supporting this platform financially and consider becoming a partner with the Emerge Life Enrichment Center. I would love to have you become an Emerge partner. All you have to do is click the link in the description above. It takes you right over to our Patreon page. There are 2 tiers there. There's a free tier. If you're just curious, you want to check it out and kind of see what it's about and get a feel for what Emerge has got going on. And then there is a paid tier that is pennies, $20 a month, for you to become a paid partner that gives you full unfettered access to the entire Patreon so that you're able to look at all of the information that's stored away behind the paywall. Everything from learning how to invest properly, financial freedom, financial liberty, financial fitness, to different spiritual principles, practices, and patterns that you can learn from in order to be able to help create the life that you desire, learning how to manifest. That manifestation is not abracadabra and it's not hocus pocus, it's not circus tricks, but there are principles and practices that are absolutely powerful that can help you to begin to manifest the life that you desire. All of that is a part of the Emerge movement. We are not tied and tethered to any particular religious ideology. It is not religion, it's spiritual. It teaches you how to use the universal principles that are available for you to be able to create, cultivate, and curate the life that you desire. I encourage you to become an Emerge partner today. And I'm encouraging those of you who enjoyed today's teaching, this time of conversation together, to consider giving and supporting this platform with your seeds and your sacrifices. You can use any of the methods that you see on your screen right now in order to support the Emerge Life Enrichment Center. I'm not saying I need 5 people to give 100 and 10 people to give 50 and another 10 to give. No. Whatever you feel led or compelled or unction to give. If you don't compelled to give anything, that's fine too. But those of you who do, use any of the methods that you see on your screen, and we thank you for your generosity and your support for the work that we're doing to bring you good, solid, practical information that allows you to be able to grow and, again, create, cultivate, and curate the life that you design and you desire. Okay? Thank you again for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you. The video will stay up so you can replay it as many times as you like. Take notes, go back and research it for yourself. In the next broadcast on next week, if you have questions, you can always bring them then, or you can, my inbox stays open if you're on Facebook, you happen to be one of my Facebook friends, or if you know, my email address is right there on the screen. You can email your questions or any concerns that you might have, and I am always reading and will be glad to respond to you and engage with you and answer any questions or dialogue with you on any topic that you desire. Take the time to just reach out to me, and I am available. I am accessible. All you have to do is reach out to me. All right. Thank you again. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, and I'll see you again next week at 6 p.m. for the Emerge Empowerment Session.
Some of you are even afraid to dream, afraid to imagine. But I'm here to tell you that you are an infinite, limitless, boundless being. Are you willing to do what is necessary to have what you desire?
You've been listening to Apostle Isaac Miles, the disruptive innovator, a mentor, an author, a motivational speaker, an entrepreneur, and the founder and spiritual director at emergelec Life Enrichment Center. Please take a minute to subscribe, like, and share this page. If you'd like to become a partner, you can do so by emailing us at emerge.lifecenter@gmail.com. Again, that's emerge.lifecenter@gmail.com. Once again, thank you for watching.